Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to our channel, and thanks for logging on. If you enjoy these videos, do me a favor and subscribe to our YouTube channel right here at Watchbox Reviews. I'd really appreciate it, and I promise to update every day. If you like this watch, you can purchase it on our website, thewatchbox.com. Buy, trade, and sell luxury watches on thewatchbox.com. And today we're discussing the Grand Seiko Spring Drive GMT SBGE211. As you can see, it has the post-2017 dial with Grand Seiko, brilliantly blazoned and proudly so at 12 o'clock. The timepiece is very wearable in stainless steel. On my 16 centimeter circumference wrist, you can see that the 41 millimeter stance of the watch is just about perfect. I would recommend this piece for a wrist as small as 14 centimeters in circumference, and you'll find that it's relatively slim. Though the stack height appears tall, it's 14 millimeters, and it's 14 millimeters with a double-stepped case flank and a conical bezel, so you'll have no difficulty slipping this underneath a tight dress cuff. Now, if you do have a 14 centimeter circumference wrist and you want to wear this watch, you might find that it's more comfortable on a strap. You can see the strap tool aperture, so you can quickly swap it. It uses a standard size 20 millimeter strap, and the lug-to-lug dimension, not counting the end links of the bracelet, just the case itself, is 48.7 millimeters. Now, when you do include the solid end links of the bracelet, it's a broader but still manageable 52.5. Now, the timepiece is wonderfully wearable in that it has almost a little bit of a banana shape to the case band. There's a definite camber to that arced case band that blends it and wraps it around the wrist. There's almost a sort of man-machine ergonomic symphony at play when the watch is on my wrist. It is incredibly planted, comfortable, and handsome. Now, I will talk about the bracelet because the bracelet is important and it's simply a gorgeous component. It's intelligently made with large gaps on the underside. It does remind me of Rolex's Oyster, but it's more beautiful on the top. And the individual links are shorter side to side, that is end to end longitudinally, so it feels a little bit silkier on the wrist. Big gaps to ventilate the wrist as well as to avoid pinching skin or pulling hair. Grand Seiko giving you sizing screws for the removable links, and this is where I say the bracelet is more beautiful than a Rolex. It features that contrast between the small intermediate polished segments, the satin on the flank, the satin on the center, and there's even a little bit of a beveled transition laid down by hand finishing that wraps the satin finished top down and around to the polished flanks. The clasp is nicely made. You can see it is substantial, but it's also slim in profile. It's not a dive style clasp, though it is twin trigger released, so you have the security of the twin triggers rather than a clamshell system or a friction fit. The case, once more, is beautiful. We can get a little bit closer now that the watch is off the wrist. Zoom in, give ourselves a bit more light and aperture. But this is where Grand Seiko really pulls ahead of its price point rivals from Swiss Horology. There's simply more to this case. The satin top, the diminishing lug with the gorgeous flared bevel that expands at the mid-case and tapers at the tips. The flanks of the case, beautifully fluid. You can see it actually has a little bit of tumble home from top to bottom and a wonderful flare from side to side. Grand Seiko talks often and much about its Zaratsu polishing, its optically smooth tin plate polishing method that's executed by hand, feel, experience, and eye, and it's always amazing to me that these things are symmetrical from side to side, that all of the polish is even, distortion free, and the bevels themselves even line up perfectly, millimetrically from side to side. You would not expect that an artisanal technique could produce such a consistent product, but that's the value of experience and time invested on the front end, the learning. Now, the timepiece has a beautiful dial that is rich, glossy, and black, and also lovingly appointed with gorgeous diamond-polished, faceted, and satin-finished indices with Dauphine-style hands that center to match. You can see the polished bevels of those Dauphine hands lighting up in the gleaming light of my light box, and the dial, which has a rich, sort of black lacquer appearance, is almost like wet paint. It appears that you could stick your finger deep into it and cause a ripple, but it's also flawless at the same time, with none of the ridges or imperfections that are often germane to cheaper gloss-style dials. This is where Grand Seiko clearly draws even with Rolex. Dial finish and dial quality. Blink and you'll miss it, though. There is a Rayhaut outboard for the 24-hour scale of the GMT system, the second time zone. And then there's a power reserve at right about 7 o'clock on the dial, and a date with a beautifully framed and hand-finished aperture, all of which is to say there's a lot packed into this watch. Now, the case back is solid, but beautifully blazoned with a sapphire at center. The solid portion is a screwed-in member, and you'll note that the Grand Seiko 9R66A is a 3-day, 30-joule, dual-time, automatic winding spring drive system. What does that mean in practical terms? Well, it means that 100-meter water resistance encloses a system that provides watchmaker assembly, watchmaker tuning, a fully mechanical operation powered by a spring with no batteries or motors, and yet you get the accuracy of a quartz system because an induced electrical current generated by the spring energy and the motion of the unidirectional regulator wheel helps to keep the timing precision to plus or minus 15 seconds per month. Keep in mind, a COSC Swiss chronometer gives you a timing tolerance guarantee of only -4 plus 6 per day. So this is an order of magnitude better. Mechanical watchmaking sole with quartz precision. And again, 100 meters water resistant thanks to that solid surround that's screwed in and the screw down style crown. Now there are some peripheral features for the 9R66, and they include the ability to step the local hour hand without actually stopping the movement. You can see how the date can be driven forward or backwards as you travel across the international date line, and there is a hacking or stop seconds function for when you want to synchronize the watch to a reference time. You can actually halt the seconds hand, bring everything to a halt, and then find an atomic clock, for example, and synchronize precisely. This is a watch that has just about everything except luminescence. That's the only Achilles heel of this design. But in return, you get a dial and hands that are completely unspoiled by the insertion of a luminescent dye or paint. So there is a benefit to lacking lume. And this watch, by day, could not be more radiant. See it and make it yours on the Watchbox.